And still, the undisputed super middleweight champion, Canelo Alvarez drops and decisions Jaime Munguia over 12 rounds in an entertaining fight. Like most people, I picked Canelo to win, I think I said on points, and that's what we got. However, Munguia did spring some surprises early on with his style. He basically tried to channel Dmitry Bivol in there, with his jab, with his movement, with his fast, snappy combinations. Obviously, he wasn't as good as the real thing, but he did a pretty decent impersonation for a couple of rounds. It was very different to Munguia's normal style, so credit to Freddie Roach, his trainer, for the switch up. And it also speaks to Munguia's youth as well. When a fighter surprises you with a dramatic style change, it's usually going to be a young fighter. I remember when a prime Danny Garcia busts out his back foot game for the first time in a big fight against Lucas Matisse. Like most people, I never saw that one coming. So Munguia started well here. I thought he won at least 2 of the first 4 rounds. And Canelo wasn't just downloading data. The punches were coming so thick and fast at times that he found it difficult to punch with Munguia. He just had to cover up and wait for him to stop punching. Munguia set a very hot pace, and I'm sure that was part of the game plan, but it looked to me like there was quite a bit of nervous energy there as well, so he might have overdone it a little bit and tired himself out prematurely. In the 4th round, Munguia started to exchange more up close, loading up on punches rather than the fast, snappy shots he'd been throwing earlier on, and he paid for it. A left hook, right uppercut combination from Canelo put him down for the first time in his pro career. He got up quick and recovered well. Munguia's always shown strong resilience. He's been in tough fights before, although not against this level of opposition. The longer the fight went, the more the pace slowed, which suited the older fighter, as you would expect. Canelo was able to start punching with Munguia a lot more often as the younger man started to lose his shape and his punches decreased in velocity. Both men went to the body, but Canelo's shots were more powerful and accurate. Canelo's jab also started to come into play more as the contest wore on. Canelo has never had great stamina, and he still doesn't, but he's learned how to manage his gas tank, the result being quite a low punch output. He's one of these fighters, like the great Joe Louis, who favors quality over quantity. He's not that busy, but when he does throw, the punches tend to be hard and accurate. However, when he's fighting a volume puncher, as he was here in Munguia, it can lead to a lot of rounds that are open to interpretation as far as scoring. There were several rounds in this fight where Munguia outthrew Canelo by a wide margin. And so the question is, at which point does quantity trump quality? For example, if a fighter only lands 1 clean punch in a round, doesn't score a knockdown or noticeably hurt anyone with it, just lands 1 clean punch, but his opponent lands 20 punches in the same round, but they're all partially blocked, partially meaning at least a portion of the glove manages to penetrate the guard and connect on the head. In a scenario like that, who do you give the round to? I think most reasonable people will give it to the guy who landed the 20 partially blocked punches. So how many clean shots does the other guy need to land to compensate for the lack of quantity and therefore win the round? This is where it's open to interpretation. There's no hard, fast rule on it. It's at the discretion of each judge. CompuBox had Canelo outlanding Munguia in many of the rounds. And again, I would question that because what constitutes a landed punch? Were they counting shots that were partially blocked or not? Judging by their figures for this fight, I suspect not. But judging by their figures for other fights, I suspect they often do, in which case there's a lack of consistency there. Personally, I thought the commentators on Amazon Prime were very biased in favor of Canelo, which is not a surprise given the fact that Canelo was the PBC fighter and this was a PBC show. I think they only gave Munguia 2 rounds in the whole fight, which to me is ridiculous. As I understand it, the DAZN commentators did the same, and Munguia is a DAZN fighter, to be fair, but bear in mind, they're hoping Canelo re-signs with DAZN after his PBC contract is finished, so they're not going to want to upset him. And commentators, of course, have a massive influence over the perception of the viewers. I'm sure there are going to be people in the comments saying, "What are you on about, Hatman? This fight was a complete shutout." No, it really wasn't. This is why I always encourage people to score fights with the sound turned off, to avoid being influenced. I thought Jaime Munguia won at least 4 rounds in this fight, but he did suffer a knockdown, of course, which obviously widens it for Canelo. I thought that 2 of the judges' scorecards were very reasonable, 116-111 and 115-112 to Canelo. The other card, 117-110, was too wide, in my view. In any event, Canelo marches on. His record improves to 62-2-2, 39 by way of knockout. Munguia suffers his first pro defeat, dropping to 43-1. David Benavidez was in the crowd and was loudly booed by the Canelo fans, as you might expect. In the post-fight interview, Canelo kept banging on about money, but that's no excuse. David Benavidez is his mandatory challenger. The WBC need to order that fight and call a purse bid. Either that or strip Canelo of the belt. Same goes for the WBA with David Morrell. He's been waiting quite a while for his shot too. No champion should have the right to completely avoid their mandatory. It doesn't matter what they've achieved in the past. It makes a complete mockery of the mandatory system. The position of a champion is never supposed to be safe and secure. He's supposed to have to constantly fight the best contenders out there to maintain it and to justify it. I have to imagine that Benavidez will be chomping at the bit more than ever after what he saw in this fight. Because like Munguia, he's very high volume, but he's bigger and stronger. Anyway, you know how I feel about the situation. I've spoken about it many times before. Overall, a pretty entertaining fight here. Munguia can come again. He's young enough. As for Canelo, I hope Turki Al-Sheikh can write him a check big enough to give us the fight we want to see, because the WBC won't do us any favors. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below.